In the grimdark of the far future, there is only war. But in the very real present, there is only
intellectual property law.
If you're a fan of deep sci-fi lore, you already know that few universes, if any, rival Warhammer 40k for sheer scale and density. Thousands of years of imperial decay, the fractured legend of the Primarchs, conflicting accounts of the Horus heresy layered across decades of novels and codices and campaign books. It's not just a setting, it's a mythological archive. And it's a big fat mess for one reason: ownership. Now, if you know, right? Okay, if you know Warhammer, you already know, so this isn't a new thing. But it opens the door to something potentially amazing that you, if you're watching this, will absolutely love and could be a part of. So let me explain, okay? So Warhammer points the way to a revolution that might just end up shaking up the entertainment industry in a way it very much needs. I need to give you some backstory. So, at the center of this vast universe sits Games Workshop Group. If you know this, but let me just catch people up, okay? So they own the setting, they own the factions, the iconography, the Space Marines, the Inquisition, every official story adaptation, everything, every single thing that happens, it's all their IP. And to be clear, centralized ownership, it actually does have real advantages. It protects the brand identity, it maintains coherence, it prevents fragmentation, it brings legal firepower to protect everybody's work. But in the case of Warhammer, it's not quite that simple. See, while the suits own it, they didn't make it. Warhammer didn't grow purely from the top down. It grew because the fans cared obsessively, and independent artists animated their favourite factions and brought them to life in all different ways. Because independent writers expanded obscure corners of the lore. Because YouTube creators, they started dissecting everything from the metaphysics of the warp to the political theology of the ecclesiarchy. This epic and pretty much unrivaled 40,000 years of fictional history, it's not all created by just employed corporate controlled creators, but by community passion. And that's where tension starts to appear. And it's a bit of a canary in the coal mine in that regard. So take the animated short series Astartes on YouTube. It was created independently by a single artist years ago now, but it brought some of the most atmospheric and lore-faithful Space Marine combat ever put to screen at that time. Zero dialogue, but clinical brutality and a tone that just captured the transhuman dread of the Adeptus Astartes just perfectly. And the community loved it, and it brought awareness of 40k to people who'd never been into it before. It brought people into that whole universe. And then the suits showed up. And Games Workshop, they claimed effective ownership of it as it's their IP. And from a legal standpoint, that it makes sense. It is theirs. But from a creator standpoint, the message was complicated. And from a community member perspective, it was tone deaf and discouraging. If you build something original and extraordinary inside this universe, you don't own it. And this despite the fact that this universe has been so largely built by independent contributors. And it isn't just a problem for small indies. I mean, fast forward to the planned Warhammer series on Amazon that we keep hearing about, but we never see anything, right? With Henry Cavill attached as executive producer and star. Who could possibly be better, right? Famously a massive fan, famously faithful to the lore of whatever he's working on, Witcher, right? And with massive industry clout, a track record of delivering box office success and guaranteed fan appreciation. You'd listen to him, right? If you were a studio exec. I mean, he was proven 100% correct with his take on The Witcher and what was happening there, so he's earned some trust, right? No. Reports surrounding the project consistently involve fallouts and impasses about creative control. I'm not going to use the WOKE word, but you know what I mean. Anyway, it's not surprising that that's happened. Large IPs do require oversight by suits protecting their golden goose. But that friction, in both cases, it reveals something important. When a fictional universe becomes culturally mythic, when it becomes something that fans invest in intellectually, emotionally, they invest their time and their money, can it be considered the property of some rights-holding group anymore? Well, legally, yes, of course, but morally? And given that you need fans to want to invest their time and effort into something, is it an effective strategy? And the exodus of fans from other IPs suggests not. When you disenfranchise people, of course, they walk away. This isn't an attack on Games Workshop Group. I mean, they've built something extraordinary. Warhammer 40k is a triumph of long-form world building, but structurally it's a closed intellectual property. And that just doesn't work. Not with something with this level of participation built in and required for it to work. I mean, put it this way, Hasbro owns Dungeons and Dragons. They own the name, they own the D&D brand. Imagine if they sued everyone who makes up their own D&D adventure, claiming it exists within their protected universe and so belongs to them. The whole thing would collapse, right? I mean, it's an extreme example, yes, but if you then try to sell your adventure or your background lore or your script or your artwork or anything, they absolutely would sue you if you had the term D&D attached to it. And that's where we seem to be at with participatory fiction. This is a thing that's crossed the line now. It's not just creator-consumer anymore. This is something different. You can create inside it, but right now you cannot share in ownership. You can't independently monetize within a canon. You can contribute to the official lore, but not without surrendering control of anything that you create. For corporations, it's a necessary protection. For independent creators, it's a ceiling. And as collaborative storytelling becomes more accessible through digital platforms, animation tools, online publishing, dare I say AI, jury's out on that, that ceiling becomes more visible and causes more tension. So, and this is what you're here for, what would a different model look like? Okay, try this. Imagine a science fiction universe designed from the beginning, from the very DNA, to allow independent creators to contribute stories, films, games, and other media, literally anything that's considered canon, fully universe canon. We're talking about a universe where creators can monetize their work, retain rights over what they build, and still contribute to a coherent shared setting. A single, cohesive world which you help to build, and the part that you built, you own. That's Ex Uno. Instead of a single entity owning every narrative thread, Ex Uno is structured to let creators build within a unified canon while maintaining ownership of their individual contributions. Your characters remain yours. Your stories remain yours, but they exist inside a larger, interconnected universe that grows collaboratively rather than hierarchically. So no more suits exerting undue control and claiming all the income over what you created. For deep lore science fiction fans, this model represents something really, really powerful. It's a universe that doesn't just tolerate independent creation, but is built around it. Warhammer 40,000 demonstrates the incredible power of centralized IP to create coherence and longevity, but it also reveals the friction that arises when passionate creators operate within a closed, controlled, IP-protected system that protects the IP from the creators. The future of large-scale science fiction world building may not be purely corporate. It may not be purely decentralized either. I think we're possibly seeing the end of that era. Warhammer 40k shows the need for a different future that just may be structured collaboration, a designed shared canon, protected intellectual property, but with independent ownership. As in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, but in the future of science fiction creation, a light is shining. Join in, take part, okay? Look, sign up to the newsletter for details, join us on our socials, and of course, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. There's lots more to say on this. Thanks for listening.